My name is Jeff Speedy. I'm the Director of Athletics here at the University of New Brunswick in Fredericton, New Brunswick. I'm in year 2 of being the Director of Athletics here after a 30-plus year youth sports coaching career. That career started at Acadia in the late 80s as an assistant coach. I then had the good fortune of working with Kathy Shields at UVic. I was her assistant for 2 years and the interim head coach at the age of 25 for 1 year. From there, I went on to University College of the Cariboo for 8 seasons, which is now Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops, BC. 4 years with the Cougars at the University of Regina, and then was on the bench here at UNB with the women's basketball program for 17 years. Shoot for the Cure started from a meeting room with all the women's basketball coaches from youth sports. Way back in 2007, the women's basketball coach from Bishop's University, Rod Gilpin, indicated that they were starting to have a fundraiser game for an alumni of his program who was battling breast cancer. So he brought up that they were having that Think Pink game, like was happening all through NCAA, a bunch of different initiatives down there that were similar. So he told the group that was something he was doing and was wondering if any other women's basketball coach or program out there had a player, a former player, the mom of a current player who was battling breast cancer, and a few hands went up around the room. So he shouted out, well, why don't we do something together like they do in the US instead of 4 or 5 of us doing something on our own? And that's really how the idea started. I was about to become the president of the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, I think the year after that. So I kind of took the bull by the horns from Rob's idea, and a few of us kind of got on board and started the national initiative. And I think, for the first couple of years, we had 8, 10, 12 schools getting involved. That was about it. But as time moved on and as everybody kind of got involved and got engaged, it peaked, 10, 12 years later with every single women's basketball program in youth sports being involved. So, it really grew into something special, and, we certainly didn't envision that from that meeting the very first day. What inspired it? I guess you could say it was some of the coaches dealing with current players or alumni or people very close to those players that were battling breast cancer. So at the time, we partnered with the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation, which, that organization doesn't exist anymore. They merged with the Canadian Cancer Society. But we merged with them because so many women were battling breast cancer and still are. So that really got it off the ground, and it wasn't that many years later that one of the best, and I think the best women's basketball coach in the country, Kathy Shields from UVic, started her own battle with breast cancer. So for a few of us that hadn't really been touched or hadn't had to deal with somebody in our basketball family, if we hadn't had to deal with it yet, we all certainly were at that point when one of our own was battling breast cancer. So that's when it kind of really took off for me, and that's when it really took off for a lot of people. It's just always meant a lot to me. I obviously had a very close connection to Kathy because my entire coaching career, I owe to her. She was who I learned from. She was who helped me get my first head coaching job, probably helped me get my second head coaching job. So she was a mentor. She, it became a friend and is still a friend today. So everybody is unfortunately touched by the brutal disease that is cancer, and I was a pretty young coach and pretty impressionable still by anything she said or did. And when she was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to stop coaching for a few years, it really hit home. So I made a point then to really get involved, and I think anybody who knows me thinks I'm pretty involved and pretty engaged in my community, and I've been that everywhere that I've coached all across the country. So it seemed like a real obvious thing. There were so many girls, so many women, so many youth sports women's basketball people that were affected by breast cancer that it seemed like a natural thing to do. So I kind of took the lead because it felt like the right thing to do, and have had a ton of people over the years, whether it's coaches or sports information directors, current and former players, that have really got engaged in this initiative as well. So it made it real easy to stay engaged because it wasn't wasn't just that we were raising money and awareness, but I saw that there were other people with a similar passion to try and move this initiative forward. So became part of what I did as a basketball coach and continue to do now as an athletic director. I think what's happened here at UNB has happened at a number of schools, and that's the part I like the most. There's always been women's basketball teams involved. The head coaches get involved, some more than others, like any other corner of society. But the women's basketball teams have been the leader with this initiative on their campuses and across the country. But here at UNB, it's now a week-long event. There's now other teams involved. Even our Reds recreation program is getting involved. So it's just to see it grow from a women's basketball initiative and a women's basketball team kind of running the event on campuses. It's really amazing to see male coaches, male student athletes, not just basketball, volleyball, hockey, etc., get involved as well. And when the Think Pink kind of week or 10-day period happens, and all over social media, there's 6, 8, 10 women's basketball teams wearing pink uniforms. There's a bunch of teams using pink basketballs, or at least a normal Wilson basketball with a pink logo on it for their games. It's just pretty rewarding to see how much it's grown. And I can't remember exactly how many years it took us to reach our first million, but it was a lot, and our second million is going to come a whole lot quicker. And I think that just speaks to how much the initiative has grown, but it really shows how many campuses have more than the women's basketball teams getting involved in the event. When I was a women's basketball coach for all those years, I felt it was my responsibility to help the student athletes on the team that I coached become better students, better basketball players, and better people. Getting them involved in the community and showing them the importance of being involved in the community is one of the easiest ways to do that. And at UNB, our teams are very involved in the community, not just the women's basketball team that I used to coach and our current coach, Aaron McAleenan, is doing a great job with, but a lot of our teams are very engaged and involved in the community. So I think it's been very rewarding for me to see that kind of growth and our student athletes realize the difference they can make in the community and the importance of giving back to the community. And if it makes them a slightly better person because they're of a giving mindset and it's something that they take with them as an adult and do for the rest of their lives, then, that's another reason why Shoot for the Cure is important and can do more than just raising funds and raising awareness to help beat cancer, which is obviously critical and how it all started and the main thing that it's about. If we have 60, 70, 80 student athletes involved in Think Pink on our campus this year, and 5-10% of them go out and stay involved in helping raise money for cancer or other worthwhile causes as an adult, then it was worth it. Kylie is on the UNB Reds in her 5th year, and I remember way back before the Curry Center was even built, we had some Think Pink and Shoot for the Cure games in the pit in our old LB gym. And I remember Kylie being all of 6 or 7 years old, winning the 50-50, which we did to raise money to add funds to our grand total. And I remember her wanting to give the money back because she recognized that there were people who needed this money more than her. I didn't think much of it at the time, thought it was pretty cool that her mother was obviously doing a great job raising an unbelievable daughter. But fast forward, Kylie was, I think, 12 years old when she joined some UNB Reds at center court to cut her hair during a Shoot for the Cure weekend to donate the hair to agencies that make wigs for people that lose their hair when they're going through cancer treatments. So she did that at a young age as well, and I think she's done it 4 times over her life. Joined women on the Reds basketball team before she was on the team, and then I think she's done it a couple of times while she's been here. So to see the impact Shoot for the Cure has had on our daughter has been pretty neat, and I'm sure that that's something she'll stay engaged in for the rest of her life. So that's one kind of moment that has always resonated with me. Another is we had a player named Crystal Osborne from Collingwood, Ontario, and Crystal was here for her 5 years, and while she was here, her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. So here she was, kilometers away from home, very close to her UNB family, but missing her family back home and not being able to be there for her mother going through cancer treatments. And in Crystal's second to the last year here, I think it was her fourth year, her mother had beaten cancer. It was in the rearview mirror, and not only did Crystal make a really touching video that we played, for a year or two around our Think Pink week, but she also cut her hair for the second time, and her mother was here to cut her hair off to again donate it to have wigs made. So that was a pretty special moment, and one I'll never forget for sure. And I think the last one is a former player from UNB, a great player, former AUS MVP, Amanda Russell now. Graduated, could have gone and played pro, went to Grand Manan to become a teacher and get married and have a family and become a coach. And I remember being mad at her because I thought she should have gone and played pro because she was that good. But fast forward a few years after she'd been in Grand Manan, and I got a phone call from the woman that was the maritime rep for the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation saying, "Do you know Amanda Russell?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do." And she said, "Well, she just reached out to me about getting some help and getting some materials for their Shoot for the Cure event." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty neat." And I didn't think much of it, but Jillian went on to say that, "Do you realize what you've done here? There's a young lady that played for UNB that was part of your Think Pink events. And now here she is in, a very small high school that I believe is a K-12 school, running her own Shoot for the Cure event and raising money." If we can help student athletes grow as people, and they kind of get the bug to go out and continue to raise funds and raise awareness and start their own Shoot for the Cure initiatives, then it's all worthwhile. So that's something that I think is pretty special, and that's probably happening a lot across this country from other former women's basketball players and other student athletes from their programs that have gone out into their communities, adults, and done some pretty special things.